Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads, all ages, all sizes, all pronouns. Thank you very much for joining us. It is this edition of the Shopo Hour featuring all three gentlemen, all brothers are in studio today. Bobby Cavaco, Steve Keogh, and Mark Criccio. And gents, I can't thank you enough for being with us today and every day. Good morning.
Good morning, Rick. Good morning, Steve, Mark. Great to be here. Our most favorite day of the week there, Rick. And hopefully everybody left early from the west side this morning with UH getting back. Traffic's a mess a little bit out there.
It's going to be, but you get a free bus pass. Yeah, there's,
You got to have a holo card, though, some whatever that is.
Oh, that makes it all better.
Yeah.
Bus passes for everybody. Good morning, boys. Good morning, Rick.
Thank you for the balance on
Yep,
this
yep.
story
Good morning.
very much, Brother Steve.
Always happy and grateful to be here, Rick, with you and your listeners.
It's an absolute pleasure. Brother Mark, good morning to you.
Good morning, Rick, Bobby, Steve. Happy Monday to everybody.
Bobby, the Shopo Hour, what do we hope to accomplish?
During this hour, we really would like to connect with the community at large to tell them, the stories from the eyes of police officers and what our law enforcement officers do throughout the 4 counties in the state, and to get a feel, of what they do every day.
Excellent. And thank you very much. By the way, telephone calls, 521-8383. I want to revisit calls to the program and encourage anybody and everybody, whatever thoughts you may have on topics that we talk about or ones that are important to you, please do so. I had a call leading up to us coming on today in relation to the Chinatown shooting, the unfortunate incident that took the life of a wife of a woman, purportedly both at a bus stop, approached, confrontation, shots fired, and she passed. First of all, your thoughts about this story and the concern expressed by a caller that in the media reports that HPD had not released a description of the suspect. We can take it from there, if you wouldn't mind, gents.
When people question how come maybe a description of the suspect has not been released or a Crime Stoppers bulletin, it's obvious that there's probably reasons behind the scene on why that wasn't done. Because the homicide detectives with the department obviously are investigating the case, and if there was one, that would have been released immediately. So there are reasons why things are done and not done. So I think that's one of the reasons why.
So there is a process of determination. Does it have to? Is there an exactitude that has to be reached? In other words, beyond any doubt that once it, because I would imagine there could be a consequence for releasing inaccurate information, both fundamentally, perhaps even legally. And how would that work?
Well, let's face it, you want accurate information out there. And if we don't have it, why are we going to look for something and go on a wild goose chase? People like to comment, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? I mean, do you know our policies and procedures? Do you know how we methodically do things? And, let these detectives do their job, So, again, there's a reason where it's not being released. Maybe we don't have an accurate description. Or maybe they do have somebody in mind and they don't want them to flee, or her, whoever it is, right? So there's a reason.
Yeah.
And when the time comes, it will be released.
To Mark's point, that would be one of the reasons. Maybe they do know who it is. They have a confirmed ID on somebody, but they don't want to release the name because we don't want that person to know that we know, so that we can work behind the scenes with the plainclothes units and whatnot, and maybe stake them out and then grab them that way, so that there's not another confrontation, and then where use of force might have to be done.
Right.
So that could be another reason.
That's your backyard, Brother Steve.
Yeah, what a tragic, horrific situation. Our hearts really go out to the family of that woman. And when something tragic like this happens, the first thing everybody says is, well, what are the police doing about it? Well, we're on it. We're on the case, right? But this is a prime example of why law enforcement agencies need community support. For anybody that thinks defunding is a good idea, and I don't mean to use this tragedy as to grandstand for certain topics, but this is exactly why we have to elect the right people. This is why we have to put politicians that back the police in office. This is why we have to make sure that we're staffed. This is why we have to make sure law enforcement is funded, because bad people do bad things. And then innocent people, this woman, she tragically lost her life. We need to make sure we have the resources, the funding, the manpower to find the person that did this and hold them accountable. So I would say to anybody out there that's like, oh, we don't need the police, we don't need that, let's defund, let's do this, let's do that. This is exactly why law enforcement needs community involvement, needs support, and why we need to be funded so we could do our jobs. And what a horrific situation. But again, there are predators out there. Bad things happen. We're like Bobby and Mark. We may know exactly who we need to get, but we're not going to go ahead and let them know we're coming. We may have more information. And again, Rick, we've talked about this. The media is not gospel. What the media thinks happened, we're not disclosing everything we're doing to the media. The media likes to speculate. So I'm sure we have phenomenal detectives. I'm sure they're on it. That we're going to look into this and hopefully hold that person accountable.
Yeah, one last point, Rick, is let's face it, there's a gun out there, right? So we need to approach this properly and safely. So let these guys do their job.
And there you have it. We're just starting. Just getting started. Go ahead, Steve.
I just want to throw something in there. When you have something like this happens, there was whoever pulled that trigger certainly had some issues, and it wasn't like it was discreetly done either. You think somebody that's capable of doing that needs to get found. You know, that was at a bus stop in Chinatown. This wasn't anything discreet. This was, we need to get this individual off the street. And to Mark's point, there's a gun we got to find. So yeah.
The brothers here with Bobby, Steve, and Mark. Your telephone calls, please jump on in at any time. Would love to chat with you. The question to you right now is, do you love Zippies? And you're probably already a Zipster, and as in Zipster Rewards. That is the new rewards program from Zippies. You can sign up by September 30th and get a free zip pack, and it's so very easy. Just download the Zippies app, create your account, and then start earning zip coins on every order, which you can use for your free Zippies favorite. You'll also receive your free zip pack after your first purchase as a Zipster Rewards member. So easy. All you have to do is delete your old Zips app. Then you need to download the new Zippies app. Make sure it's the right one, orange and white logo. And then create a brand new account in the new app. And free zip pack available only if you download before September 30th. If you want more info, go to zippies.com/rewards. Or to earn your favorite Zippies food, make your next stop the Zipster Rewards. Do so at 717. Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is the Shopo Hour. Glad you're with us. Odd News Radio, 830 KHVH. As promised, let's go to the phones, gentlemen, and check in with folks who are online. 521-8383, the telephone number for the Shopo Hour. And Bobby, Steve, and Mark. Let's go to Eva Beach, and Brett joins us. Brett, thank you for your call, and a very good morning.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank you guys for all that you do, keeping us safe here in Hawaii. I know it's a hard job these days, but I'm fully supportive of everything you guys do. So thank you very much. My question goes to, in July, the governor signed into law creating the Department of Law Enforcement, which essentially falls under the governor. He appoints the director or whoever it's going to be, and they also report directly to him. I know you guys had submitted testimony, really concerned about it because there wasn't a lot of details in the law, and with what's happening on the national level and with how some of our law enforcement has been weaponized. I just wanted to see how you guys are feeling about it now that it's turned into law, and I'll take the answer off the air.
Thank you very much, Brett, for the question. We have had previous conversations. Time has passed by since then. Who'd like to start?
Thank you, Brett, for your call and your support. Yes, we had some concerns with the bill as far as creating the new Department of Law Enforcement. We really had no issues as far as the creation of it in relation to consolidating public safety with their agencies and reorganizing. Our concern was the main thing is that they didn't infringe upon our duties and responsibilities at the county level with our four departments. As well as this bill also affected our arbitration process when officers get disciplined and or fired. This bill actually would create a law enforcement standards board, which would actually revoke the certification of a police officer if it had reached that level. And our concern was that a decision by that board would conflict with our collective bargaining agreement, with decisions being made by arbitrators that hear the case. So the bill really didn't address that. So that was our concern with that. But as far as the creation of the department, we had no issues with that. But with the recruiting issues now, I don't know where they're going to be able to find. It's going to be a hard sell.
So would there be a commingling of AOR? In other words, would the state agency call upon your HPD and other county to assist them in their protocol and directives, or will you remain parallel but not intersect?
No, we're doing that now. We're helping all the state agencies. It's amazing how much HPD does for a lot of outside agencies. People don't realize it.
No, but that's the point of the question, is that you're already spread thin with all that you do, and now a new agency.
Yeah, and what I'm hoping with this bill would do is keep us out of it. I mean, HPD and our policies, it blows away the state policies. And I'm not talking about the men and women at work over there. I'm talking about the upper management and with the state. It's a mess. Okay, so the sheriffs bring all their arrestees to us to hold, right? DLNR, harbors, right? Even during the day when the sheriffs are open to process their own, DLNR and harbors have to come to us because they don't get along, right? The state agencies are a mess so hopefully this bill will get them all together and then leave us out of it. We got enough to do. We don't need to watch your bodies, right? And you have areas, and you can process. You can hold your own people. You don't need HPD or a city agency to help you guys out.
We're at 7:24 in the morning. Back to the phones, and Dave in Waikiki. Dave, thank you for your call. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Speaking of messes, the Weed and Seed downtown appears to be failing. The businesses are closing 2:30 in the afternoon because they're all scared. And it's a ghost town after 3 p.m. in Chinatown. And in Waikiki, the Safe and Sound program, yet to get off the ground, they've allocated $350,000 a pittance. And letter to the editor in the other day's paper says, Waikiki is on life support. How can these programs improve?
Let me just interject very quick. Waikiki is not on life support. I don't know who came up with that boneheaded observation that is vacuous and uninformed. Not even close. But that's just my comment as a talk show host. Mark, Waikiki, your district.
So let's just Chinatown, Waikiki, wherever you got this Safe and Sound. I don't know. I just heard about that. You got Weed and Seed, Safe and Sound. All these politicians or these prosecutors are going to come up with these fancy names for things. How about you just prosecute the laws we have on the books? Okay, can we just do that? You don't need any of these weird programs or stuff to make themselves look good. Someone does something, put them in jail. Done. Or don't let them out. Simple. Just prosecute these people. You'll see the stuff go away.
Yeah, but you see, there's already a legal challenge to the just announced policy about bail that now the defense attorneys are claiming ... So that's going to be on the legal books now as a challenge. And there you have it. So,
Yeah.
in regard to Chinatown, Steve, could you help us understand through Dave's commentary?
Sure, and Dave, we appreciate your call, and we're happy that you're listening. Thank you for supporting the program. I can share this with you as far as Urban Honolulu goes with staffing. I know that the command staff out of District 1, it's top of mind for them to make sure that businesses feel safe. I will tell you, without divulging so much, there is definitely increased enforcement efforts in those areas. There's been money allocated to do so. As far as businesses choosing to close early, we really don't want to create a scenario where business owners are living in fear. That's not going to benefit everybody. I think we would all agree, Dave, that this is going to be a work in progress, that this is something that is going to need to be continually reviewed by both HPD, community leaders, neighborhood boards, and everyone's going to keep coming together. We realize that the issues in Chinatown did not just start overnight. It seems like we've been talking about them for years. The main thing is we can keep the dialogue up. We make sure that the relationships are there. It's got to be community, the board members, individuals within HPD, and we keep moving forward. I hope that gives you a little bit more insight. I can tell you regarding Chinatown, Rick, with your listeners, there is increased enforcement efforts, proactively, a police presence. Remember, too, gang, within Chinatown, we're not being reactive to this shooting. The Urban Honolulu Command there in District 1 had made it a priority to increase presence. We were actively working with the Chinatown Neighborhood Board to increase the presence, and we feel that that's been effective, and that's been ongoing now for the last 12 months.
I would highly encourage for our friends that have grave concerns about what is taking place that go to the legislative branch. Go to your city council, regardless of county. Go to your state legislature and advocate for empowerment of our officers to be able to do their jobs effectively in regard to areas all the way from homelessness to violent crime. Because if you don't have the tools, you can't build the house. And if our friends on the force don't have the authority and the law behind them, and I'm just going to say this very quickly, that's what I hear all the time. Why don't you guys do ... A lot of it is ensconced in we can't. It's not the law. So it's a multiple way street, and I'll leave the judges out of it for now. We're dialed in together, the Shopo Hour. How do we learn more about Shopo? How do we connect?
Sure,
Steve.
Absolutely, Rick. For those interested, please go to shopohawaii.org. We're building our website. From that platform, you can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
For Bobby, Steve, and Mark, it is the Shopo Hour, and we'll take a very short break, bottom of the hour, which means time for more of your calls at 521-8383. Once again, Chief's son in the news. We'll get our friend's take on that and more when we return. Welcome back. Again, telephone calls 521-8383. Bobby, Steve, and Mark. Bobby, president of Shopo. Steve, vice president. And brother Mark, retired major with HPD in our studios. Chief Logan's son in the news again. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
All right. Well, how long are they going to beat this horse? Number one. Okay. Number two. Okay, the news wants to put it in the news. That's fine. But what about the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other guys and gals with $20,000 warrants? Okay. So if you're going to report something, report it evenly. We're dealing with this stuff every single day where the courts let these people go and they have these $20,000 warrants. Chief's son is not someone special as far as warrants. There's dozens or hundreds of them out there that these men and women are dealing with every day. Okay? And there's a big problem with that because, okay, they bring these guys in, they release them, right? Okay, they don't show up for court. We know they're not going to show up. There's a lot of risk involved. There's a safety to the public and the officer. Because now when the officer goes and gets this guy for another warrant, Guy knows he's got the warrant. He don't want to go back, right? So how about the judges just don't release him? Prosecutors, don't release him. You know, again, report it fairly. There's hundreds and hundreds of warrants out there. Same thing.
We're in a situation where on the one side, the media reported you in selectivism. That's apparent and no doubt. But it's somewhat utopian in the days in which we live to fully expect somebody breaks a law and they're punished and there's a consequence. And you gentlemen have to go through this and your team all the time by doing your fundamental mission, catching the bad guys. But after you catch them, all that is over here in that swirl, I hope people understand there is a segmentation of our police officers and the job you do. And in the next silo, it is the prosecution of the offenders. And a lot of the times, the frustration of the public needs to be directed in that silo because prosecutions are selective based on criteria that we may not all be aware of.
So okay. We've talked about this at almost nauseum now about the chief's son having difficulties. What does it show? Well, HPD has no problem taking people to jail. And clearly, if we keep taking this troubled middle-aged guy to jail, we're not showing any preferential treatment. Okay. He's got warrants. He needs to go in. He's going in. Okay. So there's no preferential treatment there. No hot story to tell. Okay. Second thing I would ask, you know what? Look, Bobby and I have our own issues with HPD administration currently. Okay. And the chief can defend himself. He comes on your show, but how's this? I would ask the news outlets that are putting this stuff out, what is the purpose of doing that? If you, as news media, want to report the news, I can respect that. But don't you want to support your law enforcement? This chief just got elected. He's trying to do the job. What are you doing? Try to chip away at his credibility? What's the purpose of highlighting that a middle-aged adult is getting taken in on warrants? To Mark's point, that happens every day. I would say to the media that's putting this out, are you trying to give a perception that our new chief can't do his job? Or what's the narrative here? Okay. And we've talked about this young man before. HPD has no problem taking him to jail, Rick. I just think it gets to the point now where I hope the community sees that if the media is somehow trying to make the new administration's job harder or diminish credibility or create doubt, shame on them for that. And my thing is, if you want to report that kind of stuff, well, I don't know. We probably arrested island-wide. We probably arrested 35 people, 40 people for warrants. Did we post all their names? Did we highlight who their parents were? You know where I'm going with this, right? The narrative seems to be, let's come after HPD. And it's interesting, right? When you have a shooting in Chinatown, you have all these things. Everyone says, well, what's HPD doing? What's HPD doing? And then you have this silly article about, oh, well, the chief of police son got arrested on warrants again. What purpose do you serve at that? How is that informing the community? If you want to inform the community, to Mark's point, we probably arrested, like I said, 30, 40 people on warrants. Publish everybody's name. Okay. But it's not a big deal. People go back to jail all the time.
Yeah.
Right, Mark?
Yeah. That's daily now.
And I'm not speculating. I am speculating because I can't speak for anybody in the media, but as the fundamental premise of what makes news, it's not dog bites man, it's man bites dog. And that's kind of the definition, if you will, why it's newsworthy. When the chief of police has within his family an individual who is, quote unquote, breaking the law, there is an irony associated with that in the minds of some. That if you're the chief of police, this is not my belief, I'm just trying to give another take. If you're the chief of police, how is it that within your own family you have law-breaking individuals repeatedly? So how can we be expected to believe that you can administer the entire department when the job is to arrest those who break the law? So I'm just giving what perhaps might be percolating. Replies.
And Rick, that's a fair statement. It's a fair statement. I think we all would agree that within every family we have people that have challenges. But with that said, This young man has not gotten any preferential treatment from our agency before or after Chief Joe came to be the chief. And he made it very clear that he might be the chief, but in no way is his son going to be treated any different than anybody else. And all this is showing, actually, every time, whatever agenda the media is trying to put out by this, it's actually showing that the men and women that put the uniform on are doing it the right way. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you need to go to jail, you're going to jail.
It is already 7:42 in the morning. We're going to head over to Kaneohe for Friends Online. And want to thank Steve very much for your patience and for joining us. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing well. Thanks for the call.
Good. I've got a nice, warm, fuzzy story for you guys that I hope there's a bunch of people listening. I used to live in Waikiki back when I lived at 441 Walina, right above Food Pantry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I got a page on my pager. And I think you remember what pagers are. I didn't recognize the number, so I went down to the payphone and I called. And it said, Honolulu Police Department, Waikiki Substation. And I said, you guys called me. What do you want? And they said, there was a TRO against you that the guy didn't show up in court, so the judge tossed it. And he went in and refiled it, and we'd like to know if you would come down and pick that up so we don't have to come look for you. And I said, I'll be right there. They're courteous. They're kind. People need to get off this get the cop thing. I'm tired of it. You guys do great. Thank you very much, and keep it up.
Thank you very much for taking the time, Steve. Appreciate the call and the feedback.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thanks for calling in. And, to your point, the men and women in the Honolulu Police Department are doing this daily. But, not for fanfare, and there's a lot that the public don't see of the good that we're doing. So we thank you for that. Appreciate it.
7:44 in the morning, break for traffic coming up. But first, we go to George in Kailua. George, you're on the Shopo Hour, and a good morning to you.
Good morning, Rick, and thanks for having me. I heard you before the 7 o'clock hour when you were introducing this upcoming Shopo Hour, and you mentioned self-defense, pepper spray, and also concealed carry, right? And the recent ruling in New York that puts Hawaii in line to maybe finally have a viable concealed carry program. And I also noticed a survey that was published in the Advertiser that said the majority of citizens who responded to the survey didn't want concealed carry in Hawaii. And I wanted to take this opportunity to disseminate a little information that every state that has enacted non-discretionary conceal and carry has immediately experienced a drop in violent crime. And by violent crime, I mean murder, rape, robbery, and assault. Every single state. It didn't matter if nationwide Bill Clinton was adding police or somebody else was taking away police or war was on, war was off. Every single state that enacted non-discretionary conceal and carry had a drop in violent crime, according to FBI crime statistics. And you say, well, should this other guy who his wife got shot, should he pull out a gun and then we got a gun battle? The point is, it deters violent crime. Maybe the gun would have never been pulled out. He doesn't know who else is legally carrying. So I think that's where the deterrence comes in and how it makes it safer, although I guess that can be discussed.
I thank you very much for taking the time and also for the information. And George, thank you indeed. I'll turn it over to any of the gents for some thoughts before we go to our traffic break.
Whatever you get concealed carry, have pepper spray, whatever you use to help to defend yourself out there. All I got to say is just be proficient in what you have. If you don't know what you're doing with it, or if you're not trained properly with it, then don't use it. It could be used against you. You could maybe injure someone else. If you're carrying something to defend yourself, that's fine. I got no problems with that, but just be proficient with it. That's all.
7:46. The gentlemen in studio comprise the Shopo Hour with Brother Bobby, Steve, and Mark, and we'll be back. More of your calls if you like. Few minutes remaining. 7:47. A very good morning once again. We're coming up to the top of the Shopo Hour here on News Radio 830 KHVH with Bobby Cavaco, Steve Keogh, and Mark Criccio, and you. And want to thank everyone for your calls. time remaining for some final thoughts before the hour is over. Was wondering if I could get your take. This would be an update. I'm sorry. Here we go. The two officers recently, the Corey Morgan story that was in the news since we've been on together again. Investigation internally. FBI has been involved, I understand, but this is an incident that predates because this was in 2020, but now we're hearing more of what transpired. Is there any insight that you can provide on where this case is, the coverage that you've seen so far to give another side or at least to balance, or anything you'd like to share in this regard? Probably start with Bobby, I think.
Yeah, well, that particular case, we really don't know what the status on where the FBI is going with that, but of course, they are currently, investigating that, and as well as a internal administrative investigation. We obviously all we see is what the media released with the body cam footage. But as far as the intricacies of the case and what actually transpired, we really don't know until the facts and circumstances come up.
And there we go. News Radio 830 KHVH. Back to Waikiki, there was a letter. Oh, maybe this is the one our caller was referring to. I don't want to be repetitive, but strong police presence needed in Waikiki. There's so much attention now, even a story about the Beach Boys Pavilion. And I don't want to just focus on Waikiki per se, but that's where a lot of the buzz, a lot of the chat is all about. Commentary on any of that, and especially the pavilion. Why is that emerging as an important issue that the city has to deal with?
The pavilion down there, Mark, that's where we've had a lot of problem with the, homeless and whatnot, right?
Yeah, so the city dropped the ball on the pavilions over there. So they're all city contracts over there. Well, initially, I think it was Harris put them up, and it was supposed to be a nice sitting area, blah, 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 blah. We know where that's going to go, right? So then homeless started gathering, blah, blah, blah. And then now the city wanted to turn them into contracts or concessions. And, it was years. I mean, there was hotels across the street that wanted to take over those pavilions on a contract basis. And the city just dragged their feet. It's like, get somebody in there, right? So I don't know what's going on there now with them. I know there was a couple pavilions that contracts did take place, but the city needs to be more proactive with this stuff. Don't put it all on the police. There's only so much we could do.
Other districts you'd like to report back on how things are transpiring, and anything else you'd like to share in any regard of other districts and stories?
Well, we can maybe move to Kauai.
Sure.
We launched our internal survey with our officers on Kauai. And basically, it was just kind of like the same thing we did on Maui with the internal workings, morale. What is Chief Raybuck doing with internal policies and procedures, and how he's trying to move the department forward. And we've gotten about 80% feedback. Mm-hmm. So about 115 out of 144 officers. So that's significantly higher than Maui. So we're excited to see what the results are. And then we'll come out and publish it to the media and the police commission and all of those that are interested in trying to bridge that sort of gap that exists on Kauai. The last police commission meeting, there was extensive testimony by different community groups, kind of like calling the chief out as far as what he's doing in regards to domestic violence and other internal issues going on in the department. So a lot of stuff going on in Kauai, and in a couple of weeks, I think we'll be able to address that.
HPD is also, according with Chief Joe providing their own personnel surveys. And I asked him, is there anything in conjunction with your efforts too? Wasn't committed to saying there was, because he wasn't sure if there's going to be. But I'm just curious, your members being surveyed by HPD, is there a similarity between the two? surveys, and what do we make of the responses and replies?
Sure. Well, we want to give Chief Joe and his administration credit because he was one of the administrators that took it upon himself to put this out. So those questions and whatever our members were asked were determined by Chief Joe and his administrators, and we want to give him credit for that. It's not something that, unlike some other county chiefs, that it needed Shopo needed to step up and kind of see what the members were thinking. So we give Chief Joe credit for that. We hope and we were confident that he's going to be transparent with those results. And of course, if he reaches out to us, we're more than happy to work with him and identify areas of opportunity to make things a little bit better within the agency. We're happy to work with him and his team.
Since we first started the program, has there been any valued response, reply, interaction with folks who have been able to listen to you now for several months in regard to topicality, advocacy, representation of your membership? And if so, what's resonating with folks that connect with you the most about the hour?
Well, I think the fact that it's a voice that they can't say, right? Because Honolulu Police Department, right? They're bound by policy. They cannot talk in public about police matters or how they feel, because, and rightfully so, because the department doesn't want to come out where they're representing the department, right? However, there's a lot of frustration with the rank and file over, what judges are doing, prosecutors are doing. You're arresting the same guy over and over and over again. Nothing's being done. It's a lot of frustration. So I think that's what we bring to this, because we're letting the public know, and the officers really appreciate it.
Okay. Steve?
The feedback, Rick, that I've gotten from members of the community is they feel more connected. They feel more plugged in. They're able to kind of hear and think what cops are thinking. And that was really the whole purpose of why we all got together with you, right? Was to make the community members in all the counties throughout our state feel more connected with the county police officers that are protecting and serving them. So that's a win. I have to say also that as far as our membership goes, this has been an added bonus that we have gotten a lot of positive feedback from our members that they listen to your program, they listen to us, and to Mark's point, they feel like they have a voice. And that the things are being said that are top of mind for them. So this has been a win for making the community feel more connected to the police department with whichever county, whether it's Maui, Big Island, Kauai, or Honolulu. But it's also been a win because the members that work for those county police departments, there's an increased sense of camaraderie that their issues are being brought out, top of mind issues for officers. So we feel very fortunate and we're very grateful to have this opportunity with you and your listeners each week. We look forward to it, and we're really happy. We think it's going very well.
And Bobby, in just a few moments, your thoughts.
Yeah, we'd like to publicly thank you, Rick, for allowing us on this platform. Anytime Steve and I and Mark comment, it's not on behalf of the department at all. It's, us being as the leaders of the police union statewide on the various issues. So I think it's great that the community calls in and can express their concerns, whether they're on whatever side or opinion that they have, and there's a respect there on everybody's views. And yes, for our members statewide, it's a great opportunity for us to try and kind of like give our side of the story or our opinion on things. So we're very appreciative for that.
Well, I'm looking forward to this being a 7-day event. You come in each day, 6 a.m. to get ready for a 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. broadcast time. I think that'll work in the schedules, right?
Absolutely. Just work on a green room. That's all.
Yeah, and some more sundries and some different things. Rick will have to kind of,
Well, I'll get some lamb chops and a little bit of great, and we'll be in good shape. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. Shopo Hour today. We'll see you next time.